Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Acche Din may or may not have come for anyone else, but they certainly seem to have arrived for AAP lawmakers in Delhi. If the centre gives the go-ahead, Delhi's lawmakers could become the highest paid in the country after they voted to give themselves almost a fourfold salary hike. For a party that swore to end VIP culture, privileging politicians above ordinary citizens, just what justifies this massive salary hike at the expense of the very aadmi they claim to represent? Or, as they argue, will there be less incentive to be corrupt if lawmakers are paid better? Well, let's break this down for our viewers. What is this going to mean now? The basic pay of Delhi's lawmakers has been revised from 12,000 rupees a month to 50,000 rupees a month. The total package hiked from 88,000 to 2.1 lakh rupees a month. How does this compare with our MPs? How much do they get paid at the moment? Well, remember, all of this is subject to ratification from the centre. But if the centre clears this pay hike, then a Delhi MLA's salary will be approximately 2.5 times an MP's salary. Let's just take a look at the Prime Minister's basic salary at the moment. That's around 50,000 rupees a month, excluding allowances. After this hike, the Delhi Chief Minister's salary could be 80,000 rupees a month. Well, let me go straight across now to Sheila Dikshit, former Chief Minister of Delhi, joining us now. Thank you very much, Sheila ji, for being with us. The last time there was a salary revision for Delhi lawmakers was in 2011 when you were Chief Minister. There was a 100% hike in salaries for Delhi MLAs. So you're not opposed per se to this salary hike. Why are you criticizing this particular move, though?
No, we did certainly increase the salary, but the salary was commensurate with the inflation that had taken place. It wasn't as shocking as this one is. This is, I believe, 400% more than they draw already. Now, an immediate or a sudden increase or a one-time increase amounting to over 400% is just not acceptable. I want to ask you a question. I want to ask through you, Mr. Kejriwal, a question. What happened to the MCD workers who they said they could not pay, and they are still not, many of them are not being paid? They cannot be paid, but MLAs can be paid.
I think that's a fair question, and we'll certainly take that across to the AAP spokesperson who will be joining us later on the show. But ma'am, isn't it true that MLAs in 2011 had also asked for a 300% salary hike at the time, which of course they didn't get when they came back with a revised figure?
No, that's all right. You can ask for the moon, but practically you have to look at the budget and you have to look at other things. You have to look at the other commitments which you have to the people of Delhi because you are the government. So you have to be reasonable about things. You just cannot, because your MLAs, run away with it. I am told that this has been said that with this corruption will become less. I personally feel corruption might become less because you are earning more, so you can be more corrupt.
Well, that's an interesting point of view, ma'am. For the first time, though, there was an independent panel that was actually looking at this. Do you think that made a difference at all? The fact that these were recommendations that were arrived at by a three-member panel with no politicians on it?
No, but it can be a panel, it can be a team, it can be whatever it is. But it's for the government to see that the government does not exist only for its MLAs or those who are in government. It exists for the entire people of Delhi. What impact it is going to have, what are they going to have to cut in other areas to pay these salaries? This is a question which all of us will ask.
But do you also believe that this is a bit of a U-turn from a party that called itself the Aadmi Party, that championed being from the common people, looking after their interests, that at one time it had a leader who said he would take a 1 rupee salary even, and then do you see what's happened now as rather a turnaround?
Yes, it is a bit of a turnaround, quite a shocking turnaround if you ask me really, because you see the governments are meant to look after people, not just themselves. Yes, you must be reasonable about your MLAs, your ministers and so on because they have to work. But not beyond the point, not to such a shocking, figure. As I've said again, and I repeat it, 400% rise is just not acceptable.
You've also said today, ma'am, that you feel that this shows that the Aam Aadmi Party is also not serious about the Jan Lokpal bill, which was their sole stated reason for joining politics. Now, why is that?
If you ask me, ma'am, where the Jan Lokpal bill is concerned, there's utter chaos and confusion about it. You read about Mr. Anna Hazare saying these are not correct points. Then you read about it saying, no, they are all right. So there's a lot of confusion being created, and I sometimes feel, I get the impression, many others get the impression, that what is the intention behind the Jan Lokpal bill? How can you, for instance, take in government servants who belong to the central government? How can you bring them under the Delhi Jan Lokpal bill? So you see, there is a kind of a confusion being created. For what reason? Either they don't want the bill to pass or not be cleared by the government of India, because eventually it will have to go there. So what is the game going on? Is it merely just to say, yes, we said Jan Lokpal, we are bringing it. But it's not an acceptable Jan Lokpal bill.
All right, Sheila Dikshit, former Chief Minister of Delhi, thank you very much indeed for speaking with NDTV. Let's just take some of those points made by Sheila ji across to our panel tonight. Sambit Patra from the BJP joining us tonight, from the Aam Aadmi Party, Ashish Khaitan. PDT Achari, former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, who was the head of the independent panel that looked into salary hikes, also with us this evening, as is Professor Jagdeep Chokar, founding member of ADR. But Ashish Khaitan, let me begin with you, since it really boils down at this point to the Aam Aadmi Party with its 67 lawmakers in the Delhi government. Arvind Kejriwal said he was going to be battling and ending VIP culture that privileges politicians above ordinary citizens. I would put to you that every ordinary citizen is also battling inflation, is also battling rising prices. Why should only lawmakers benefit?
Well, first of all, let's look at it from the point of view of how much an MLA needs to carry out his constitutional duties, to carry out his duties towards his or her constituents, the assembly, the people who have chosen him or her, because he has to run an office, he has to employ certain stenographers, data entry operators, he has to meet a large number of constituents on a daily basis. So that also requires an expenditure.
Ashish Khaitan, are you saying that currently MLAs were being unable to carry out their duties? Are you saying that currently MLAs are unable to carry out their duties on their present salaries?
And the other part, can I complete, ma'am?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So there are two aspects. One is the salary part and the other is the allowance part. So the allowance part are actually to carry out your duties effectively,
yes,
honestly and sincerely. And when an MLA doesn't get that allowance through honest means, through state exchequer, then he looks for alternative means to be an effective MLA. Now that should not be acceptable in our democracy, that an MLA, to carry out his duty, he should look for alternative means, he should look for dubious means, unacceptable means to do what he has to do as an MLA. That's number one. Number two, I want to say that the salary part, which is 400%, Ms. Sheila Dikshit only highlighted 400% part. Yes, it is 400%, but 400% from which base? From 12,000 to 55,000.
Yes.
An MLA, to conceive that an MLA in Delhi can live honorably, can live honestly in this city with just a salary of 12,000 rupees is inconceivable, is not practical. That actually means that you are creating a system where you are asking your MLA and MP and minister
to
that look, salary is just a farce.
Okay.
You
I wonder whether the Aam Aadmi Party was
your powers of an MLA and a minister.
Okay, I wonder whether the Aam Aadmi Party was quite as considerate to politicians when they were, naming them all as corrupt before they were in power. But Sambit Patra, come in on this.
I would like to reply to that. I would like to reply to that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can I reply to that?
Go ahead.
Yes. yes, the point that you are making is that Aam Aadmi Party is resorting to hypocrisy, that when they were outside the political system, they were critical of politicians, now they have raised their own salary. That's the criticism. Now let's look at it. When we are outside the system, we protested against 2G scam, against coal scam, against large scale corruption, 10 lakh crore, 20 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore.
What is your point, Ashish Khaitan? You can't have your cake and eat it too, essentially. You know, we heard one line of arguments from you when you were not in power. Now that you're in active politics, we're hearing something completely different. I will come back to you and give you an opportunity to continue this. But I do want to throw this open now to the other members of the panel as well. Samit Patra, the Aam Aadmi Party's contention seems to be that, you know, when salaries are as low as this, then there is an incentive almost to be corrupt, and that's what they're trying to level out. Your response?
No, in fact, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, who is supposedly a very intelligent man and who is in fact the Chief Minister of Delhi now, should have known all this well in advance. That if you don't get paid well, then you have the incentive of getting corrupt. But he did not know this on 7/6/2013 when he gave an affidavit to the same effect. And the affidavit reads out, मैं लाल बत्ती गाड़ी नहीं लूँगा, मैं सुरक्षा नहीं लूँगा, मैं बंगला नहीं लूँगा, मैं ₹1 की तनख्वाह पे काम करूँगा. So why declare all this? Either that was a farce or this is a farce. When he was saying that he will not take a bungalow and he will live like an ordinary man. In Hindi, he has said that, मैं साधारण सामान्य घर में रहूंगा, आम आदमी की तरह. Today, AAP, the Aam Aadmi Party, has become Ameer Aadmi Party. And today, when I was listening to Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, he was in fact justifying the salary hike on the floor of Delhi Assembly. I was astonished and ashamed to learn that Mr. Arvind Kejriwal in his speech said that the Prime Minister is getting only 1 lakh rupees as salary. मुझे शर्म आती है कि प्रधानमंत्री को 1 लाख तनख्वाह मिलता है. 1 लाख में क्या होता है? Just imagine, these were the words of an Aam Aadmi Chief Minister, a Chief Minister who is today ashamed that the Prime Minister is getting only 1 lakh rupees as a salary. How many people in this country are getting 1 lakh rupees as salary? The Chief Minister of Delhi is ashamed that there is a person who is getting 1 lakh rupees. And what happens in 1 lakh rupees? And you would be astonished, Ankita, to know that he has recommended a salary of approximately 10 lakh rupees for the Prime Minister of India.
Now, be that as it may, Samit Patra, is it also not true that the government is actually sort of considering looking at a rationalization of salaries of MPs, of ministers and of the Prime Minister as well, given the 7th Pay Commission hike, where now a secretary in the government actually gets paid more than the Prime Minister? Why should we expect our politicians to get paid so little?
No, this question should be asked, Ankita, to the Aam Aadmi Party. In fact, Ankita, you would remember that blue Wagoner car, that Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has taken to the venue when he had become the Chief Minister for the first time. I was with you in a debate and you had asked me, will Mr. Narendra Modi ever travel in a Wagoner car? Now the story is not from rags to riches, but from a blue Wagoner car to a BMW. The question should be asked from the Aam Aadmi Party why they were posturing before and what has happened after. As far as the rationalization of the salary of the MLAs and MPs are concerned, well, yes, there should be rationalization, but there should be a rationale behind rationalization.
All right.
3 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees a month, a year, 3 lakh rupees a year for foreign tour. How does the Aam Aadmi Party justify that? If the Aam Aadmi Party MLA goes to Brussels and Iceland, how is that going to help the Delhi Assembly?
Ashish Khaitan, do you want to respond to that very quickly before I take this to our other panelists? Ashish Khaitan.
Well, I would just like to say one thing, that an MLA, an MP or a minister whose full-time job is to safeguard public interest, act in public interest, and all his acts should be guided by public interest. And he is also the custodian of public money, should be paid well enough to live with honor and dignity, so that he can raise his children well, he can educate his children well, he can look after his family, and he doesn't have to look towards dubious means, towards middlemen,
let's take that point of honor and dignity
unscrupulous elements
now to our other panelists.
That's the simple point I'm making.
Okay, Jagdeep Chokar, now your ADR has actually done a thorough investigation of these lawmakers, and is it not true that 44 of the 70 members of the current Delhi Assembly are crorpatis? If the argument is that having higher incomes is somehow a deterrent to corruption, then shouldn't we assume that at least 44 lawmakers are already incorruptible?
No, first of all, you asked me, is it correct or not?
Yes.
Nobody has doubted whether it is correct because the people have given it in their
Yes.
own affidavits.
Yes.
So, you don't ask me this kind of, is it correct? It is correct.
Right.
Number two, I want to say three things. I just heard the two politicians saying, one said MLA should be paid well. The other said it is a full-time job. If you put these together, if people are looking for jobs that are well paying, then I suggest they should not become MPs and MLAs. There are other jobs available. All these gentlemen can get better paying jobs if they want. Number one. Number two, there is no denying. Number two, it is not an individual party issue. To me, there is no difference between Aam Aadmi Party, BJP, Congress, CPI, CPM, Falana Dimka.
Okay.
All politicians, when they are in power, they look for themselves. Number three, there is no problem, and I think everybody, particularly public representatives, should have the wherewithal to live respectably and with honor and dignity.
Yes.
But my major concern is the allowances and the facilities.
Okay.
My contention is we must pay our elected representatives well, but we must pay them a lump sum amount and nothing else.
Okay.
No constituency allowance, no foreign travel allowance, no telephone, no car. Give them 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs.
I want to respond
lump
to that.
sum. But
Okay.
But
Okay,
let them
fair point.
fend for themselves.
Let me take this across
Let
to-
them fend for themselves like
Yes.
other people do.
Do. Okay, fair point. PJT Acharya, since you were actually part of the independent panel on looking into those into salary hikes, and it's your recommendations on the basis of which the Delhi Assembly has voted for this big hike. Would you agree with Mr. Chokhar when he says give a lump sum but forget about all these other perks and allowances that they get? And on what basis did your panel arrive at these numbers?
See, I can understand the politics and the political reactions which
Yes.
have come.
Yes.
But being a professional, I look at this issue from a different point of view. And that is what I have done in this particular case. Now, in terms of percentage, well, it is true that there is a step up to the extent of 400% and all that.
I think that is the figure that everyone
Well,
is balking at.
well,
400%.
yeah.
Was it
But I will
justified?
let me explain
Yes.
it in my own way.
Yes.
The point is that they are getting, an MLA in Delhi is getting 12,000 rupees per month as salary today. 12,000 rupees. Even a casual labor gets more than that in Delhi. Now, this has been stepped up to 50,000 rupees. So, in terms of percentage, it looks very high, 400,
Yes.
450% and all that.
Yes.
But in terms of absolute figures, it's only 50,000. 50,000 is not such a humongous salary. I don't think anybody will say that it's a huge
fair
salary.
point.
But the point
Fair
is,
Yes.
the point is, there are two things which need to be taken into consideration when you look at the salary, when you try to work out what kind of salary is reasonable. One is the Constitution of India very clearly says there is a constitutional directive that members of parliament and members of state legislatures should be paid salary and allowances.
Yes.
And these salary and allowances will be or should be revised from time to time.
Yes.
And this revision will be done by the respective legislature.
Right. Right.
Now, what is meant by revision of salary and allowances from time to time?
Okay.
In that, just let me complete this. There is an inherent implied direction that they should be paid a reasonable salary and allowances. That is what it means.
Right. But
That's
you're
what-
saying that hasn't happened.
That has not happened so far.
Yes.
There have been ad hoc increases.